Alright, so this pinion seal, these are fairly common to do these all the time. These use this tiny little T40 Torx, which is kind of stupid, but then they use this interlocking tooth mechanism here to make sure all the power gets transferred. So what I do, how I do it anyway, I don't know how you do it, or if you're probably watching this video, you don't know how to do it, that's why you're watching the video. So I take this pry bar, stick it in there like that, up onto that control arm, and then I have this T40 long Torx. I think that's an 8-incher, I think, and you put it right here like this. I tighten it a little bit and then I back them off, and you got to be super duper careful. Make sure you get all that gunk and crap out of there, and also on the back side it's always good to hit it with a brush, wire brush, and maybe put a little lube on it so it comes out easy. So nothing to it. You see these ones are kind of chowdered because they've been out before. A lot of the times when I do these, I order new bolts for them. See, for obvious reasons, they're supposed to be a one-time use, but you can tell these have been out before. I would have ordered bolts for this, but I was not informed at the time that I ordered parts that the guy wanted this done until after the fact, because that's how that stuff works. So stick that guy in there like that. Put this in there. It's how loose it is. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Put steady pressure on it. Make sure that the socket. Oh man! I'm gonna watch this strip out in real time. Oh, I did it! Oh, whew. Thank God, that one felt like it was gonna round off. Okay, well this is not very interesting, so we'll come back in a minute. So I already know somebody is going to ask me, well, can I use this? Can I use that? Well, I don't really know what to tell you what to use, but here's a standard snap-on, T40, and you can get it in there, but it's not straight. It's probably why these are rounded out to begin with, because somebody did this before. That's why I use these long ones, because you can get way out here with it. You can watch it, you can feel it. So much easier. These are all snap-on because, if you're going to be doing stuff like this, where if this bolt snaps off or rounds out and it basically traps a vehicle on your lift, you're going to be shit out of luck. So you might as well use the right tool, the right stuff, the right technique the first time, so that you don't end up with that problem. Because, there's always somebody who's trying to save a buck. Well, I could go to Harbor Freight and get that same tool. Well, no, you can't, actually. It can't be done. Okay. Alright, so I get a bungee cord or a ratchet strap or something. Just kind of get this shaft out of the way. A lot of times I take this opportunity to bend over these cardan joints and grease them up if they got grease fittings. So these axles, these pinions are all preloaded, just like the carrier bearings, and so you got to be careful when you do this to get this nut basically back where it was. So the ideal way to do these is to pull this all apart, pull the pinion out, and if it has a crush sleeve, you're supposed to put a new crush sleeve in it, and then re-torque it, and pull the wheels off, set the rotating breakaway torque. But in a shop environment, a normal flat rate situation, you're never going to do that. So what I do is I pick an orientation, usually up and down like this or that way. You can see those two marks in there. What I do is I take my chisel, sharpen it, I take it in there, give that nut a good whack, leave a mark on it, and then I pull out just a little bit, because you never pull out all the way, and then give that another whack. Now that'll give you a kind of an orientation of where that nut's supposed to go. Then what you do is you take your big mamma jam, and man, this is gonna be loud. I'm gonna regret this. Wow. And then pull that nut off. You're also supposed to replace these every time, but nobody ever does that. And then on the inside there is a washer. Okay, there we go. Do not forget the washer. Okay, now here's the next thing. If you look down in there, I can't see what this is seeing because my screen is off and it's blocking the light. Around those threads is what we have called pipe dope. It is a thread sealing compound. Now, it's not RTV silicone, because if you've watched the other fluid and sealer video, you know that everything has an application. Now, what this does is it keeps the fluid coming out of there. So the next step is we have to pull this off. You know, I see a lot of people sometimes will sit here and tap this thing. You know, I mean, that's one way to do it, but I prefer to put a puller on here and zip that thing off. So I just got this little, you know, this is just a generic puller. I mean, pretty much everybody's got one of these in their toolbox. This is another reason why I like to replace these bolts, is because I use them for holding the puller. So just kind of get it eyeballed. It doesn't have to be exactly straight. Just snug the bolts down. And this is the forcing screw I use. If I could get it in the light, that'd be great. This is just one that was used up over the years, and the tip had a little kind of bearing thing that rode on this, and it got wore out. So I just kind of took the grinder to it, cleaned it up, and I put some molybdenum grease on this thing. And so what I do is just cross thread it immediately. It's usually how this works. Run that down until it touches. And this is going to come right off of here, I hope. So boom, perfect. Bottomed out at the exact right time. So if we take a look here, you can see that's the thread sealer, pipe dope. Got some on this side, and man, that fluid smells torched. But that's what happens when these things leak. So this is it. That's all there is to it. Just a little seal. Now here's the forward bearing. We're not going to mess with any of this stuff. We're going to zip that. Well, actually, what we're going to do is clean this up a little bit. Then we're going to zip that seal out of there, and then go from there. And then I wonder if I can use this to make a tripod. Let's see if I can. Let's stick this guy down here. See if this will screw in. Oh, wow, look at that. That is amazing. Woo, going for a ride. Sorry, boot all this, eh? Alright, so this is pretty easy. There's a million different ways to do this. Some people stick a screwdriver in there and pop them out. These have a lip edge that go all the way around here. So this is all I do. Take my hammer and just kind of get under there. Get it to pop loose. You know, work it around a little bit like this, and then change the angle. Start working it, working it, working it. Boom. That's it. That's all there is to it. Sometimes, depending on how your lift is set up and how much fluid is in it, sometimes fluid will come out of here. But I don't think it's going to come out this time because it's been leaking. So then we just take our towel, start from the bottom, work our way around. We'll start from this side, work our way around, clean that up, get all that nasty out of there. Okay. I use National seals. This one is National 710558. You either use National or Spicer, not Spicer, but whatever the hell the name is. So these ones have rubber around the outside, and that's what seals this. Sometimes they'll actually have a sealer put on here. Some people put silicone on it too. Not really necessary. So all we do is take this guy, and this is kind of a, there's no real way to explain how to do this. You just gotta kind of, it'll catch in one spot, and then you use that catch spot and work it around. Now see, there's a gap here, and it's closer on this side. So you don't want to start on the low side and work around the high side. You want it to get as even as possible. So start on the high side, work it around, and it'll kind of center itself. See, it's already bottomed out there. And then just tap it in. And see, it just kind of works its way in. And you can hear it, the pitch change when it bottoms out. See? A little bit more ringy. Just keep tapping it. Work it all the way around. Kind of reform it in case it got a little bit messed up. That's it. That's all we got to do. Now that seal is in there. Okay, so next thing we got to do is pull this apart. Take this out. Of course, now my magnet sticks to everything because that's how this works. Take these bolts out, make sure they pop out, and strip the crap out of it. It's necessary. That's another reason why I like to replace these bolts. And so we're left with this guy. See, there's a nice little groove there. That's not good. Clean it up a little bit. Man, there's a lot of poo-poo in this. So there's actually an inner seal in here, and these two seals work together. See, this lip here rides on the inside of this, and it creates a double seal. So I'm not really sure. So this vehicle pulls a dump trailer, and it's used mostly in the construction-y type environments. Okay, so I just took it over to the drill with a wire brush on it, clean it up. And I don't have the inner seal for this, so I'm just going to have to put this back together because I don't have the parts, and I'm not going to drive to town to get them. So it takes some Permatex thread sealant, 56, 52, 1. This is for sealing threads. And what we do is just kind of work around here a little bit. Doesn't need to be completely drenched. Okay, it's like that. Then we'll work it around. Now this is not an adhering surface. This is not a bond. All this stuff does is get into the threads and prevents the fluid from leaking out. So there's not any real like major science to this. You just get the stuff into the hole. That's it. That's all you do. Okay, so then we find our mark. Now the other thing is that you don't ever, one of the reasons why I use the puller instead of banging on this is because these bearing races are little like barrels, and then they're in the races, bearing races. When you whack on them, it puts a lot of shock load on it, and it could actually put little divots in the bearing race, and it'll wear your bearing out real quick. So another thing I do is just give these the surface just a quick little spurt. That's it. That's all you need. Now the seal, the new seal has grease on it, so I just put a little bit on there just to kind of ease the insertion. And I just tap this very gently. It's going to go on a lot easier than it came off. Make sure it's not binding up. And then once it gets on there further, it'll center, and then you don't really have to necessarily work your way back and forth. Now, I'm just barely tapping this, you know. It's not, I'm not hitting it very hard. Okay, we're getting pretty darn close. Okay, next make sure you put your washer back in. This also helps contain any of the fluid from leaking out. Since these nuts are usually one-time use, see they got little dimples on them that help squeeze the threads in. Take just a little bit of blue Honda lock, or any sort of thread locker works. I use the low strength stuff in this particular application in case this ever has to come back off. Now you don't have to fill it full. Just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. Okay. Start that guy in there. Then tighten it until you feel it stop, and you hear the pitch change, and that almost exactly, just a little bit more, but that's okay because we just damaged the nut threads, so a little bit over tight is fine. And so that's all there is to it. Make sure you check your fluids, top it off, and then I like to come in here with a rag and just kind of clean this up. Now I'm not going to sit here and scrub all this off. You know, you can tell if it's leaking, even if it's dirty. You can tell if it still leaks. So next thing, let's see if we're still in the frame here. I'm new to this, so you gotta bear with me. Take the drive shaft. This one, the slip joint is frozen. That's unusual. Usually you don't have to fight them like this. Okay, real time, unscripted. Come on. So the universe knows that I got the door cracked because the hitch on this thing, and it knows it's cold outside and it's just messing with me because it can. Okay, here we go. And take our bolts. Just put a tiny little drop of this on there. Tiny, little itty bitty. Little itty bitty. Okay. And then we take our dealie, put it on the, what's it? And then zip it down. And then we'll go around, put the other ones in, and then I'll put that Torx back on the ratchet and tighten them all by hand. Just do that for ease of insertion. So that's it. That's how you do a pinion seal. Easy. Make sure you check your fluid afterwards.